What is the most important aspect of an MMO? Stable servers? Good netcode? An intuitive battle system? All of those are important parts of any game. But the one thing that can carry an MMORPG, regardless of game quality, is a good community. In the case of Final Fantasy XIV, it would prove to be the one thing that kept the game running long enough for Yoshi-P and his team to complete the reboot of the game with A Realm Reborn. But the 2 years of decline was not easy on the small and frail community. A divide was forming, led by someone who would later become a Final Fantasy XIV legend. This is the fall and rise of Final Fantasy XIV Addendum Community. When the game launched in 2010, a lot of the game's initial players came in from sister game Final Fantasy XI, Square Enix's most successful MMORPG at the time. The players trusted the game's producer Hiromichi Tanaka, as he was still the acting producer for Final Fantasy XI at the time of release. These players would form their own groups within the 14 community. Other players would come into 14 as first-time MMO players and would therefore seek help from the 11 veterans. Despite the game's glaring issues, these veterans would quickly recognize certain core concepts from 11 and use that knowledge to aid new players that found themselves lost in the massive, copy-pasted world of Eorzea. In mere weeks after launch, the community had built up a sort of hierarchy where 11 veterans were kept in high regard. They would more often be deep into crafting or exploration and would reach the end game much faster than other players. But the game was, as we all know, extremely lacking. Many 11 veterans, disappointed by the quality of 11's supposed successor, returned to Vana'diel, some vowing never to return. These early days of 1.0 can be referred to as the Chaos Era. There were no official forums to begin with, so fan-made resources would pop up online to create some semblance of an online community presence. This, in many ways, made it even harder for newer players to feel welcome in the game. If you didn't come from 11 or had friends to play with already, it was a big risk you'd end up feeling lonely in Eorzea at launch. It was clear 14 needed some sort of official online community, and Yoshi-P heeded the call. The official forums opened to the public in March of 2011 and would finally unite the community under one banner. The era of scouring the internet for a website to meet friends or discuss the game has finally come to an end. Complaints, discussions, and meetups could now be planned on one official website. The first community era has officially begun. But it was here the divide in the community would become apparent. Immediately after the forums launched, they were flooded with topics criticizing the game, developers, and community. It was almost cathartic for players to finally let out their frustrations with the game for the devs to see. But there were also those who were quick to defend the game in its current state. Some 11 veterans were very vocal about their dismay at Tanaka's removal from the project, fearing that Yoshi-P would bring 14 closer to the more popular MMORPG at the time, World of Warcraft. The devs, however, were more interested in the genuine feedback from players. Many would create topics where players could post their top lists of changes they wanted to see in the game. Mind you, these were made before the announcement of A Realm Reborn, so they were changes they wanted to see in the 1.x game. I found this topic from March 11th, 2011, very shortly after the forums launched, and I find it very charming to see what they wanted back then. I'll read it to you now, and take note of how many of these items were actually added to the game later. Top 10 changes you want to see. I dug through these threads pretty deep and I couldn't find a thread like this, and besides, this is something the developers should have thought of. List the top 10 things that you want to see in this game by the end of the year. Rules. Arrange numerically from 1, most desired, to 10, least desired, of things you want to see added, changed, removed from this game this year. Put more than 10 if you really must. Now I know what you're thinking, this thread will probably get overlooked by the developers and they've foiled my plans of being able to add every dev tag in the tag list. But if this gets enough attention, we've given Square Enix a perfectly good resource for everybody's wishlists, whether they choose to use it or not. I crammed in 5 random dev tags to improve our odds. Anyway, my list. Number 1. More endgame PvE content. 2. More job traits. 3. A bard class or party buffing class of some sort. 4. One-handed axes and two-handed swords. 5. Delivery boxes. 6. Artifact gear. 7. Chocobos, I guess. 8. Large-scale PvE content like Dynamis. Again, that 11 reference. 9. Skill point/experience point penalty for death. That's popular now. 10. Point system like conquest points where you can accumulate then exchange them for items. It's quite fascinating to see just how much of this was implemented through 1.x and A Realm Reborn onwards. When doing research for this, I was amazed at how on point most of these posts were. Players really wanted to help out and provided genuine and good feedback. There were silly posts, of course, but for the most part, things were kept quite civil. As updates got implemented, however, the ones that enjoyed the somewhat flawed version of the game started to sour. They felt like the game they fell in love with was changing too rapidly, losing some of its charm. Some called for more 11-esque features, others wanted Yoshi-P to flat out leave and reinstate Tanaka. But then something strange happened. March 31st, 2011. The 14 official forums are changed forever. The community gains its first real hero, Rokien. Rokien's first post on March 31st, 2011 was simply titled, "I Only Wish." In it, he laments the fact that the devs are listening too closely to the community's wishes. Quote, "I don't want this game like Final Fantasy XI or World of Warcraft. I want it to be its own MMO. I don't like how the dev team is catering to us like little kids. If enough of us want something, they will look in on how to implement it. I want it to be their game, not ours." This would become Rokien's approach to most of the game's future. It was a more unique take, but not a helpful one. One of his complaints in this post was the addition of the aggro tag, showing you if you've got aggro on an enemy or not, as it would break his immersion. Replies to his first thread would be mixed. Some were supporting his views, while others explained to him that it was this mindset that led to this situation in the first place, but Rokien would not listen to criticism. As time progressed, Rokien would become more and more active on the official forums. While most players were asking for improvements on playability and features, Rokien would often dedicate entire threads to removal of features, like instant airship travel. Why bother with that when you can use anima to teleport? Or what about regional servers? Surely the community is too small for that. Leveling was too quick, so the gear obtained was barely worn before it became obsolete. Signet from 11. Why not? What's the point of endgame? Let's add more death penalties. And as A Realm Reborn was revealed and live letters started showing off new features, Rokien had just about enough. The Duty Finder, or the Content Finder, which it was called back then, was a big issue for our friend Rokien. From this point on, anything shown in the live letters or in development posts would be criticized by our friend Rokien, and this is what made him the biggest name on the 14 forums back then. If a new feature had been announced, there was a high chance Rokien would have a thread on the forums the following day. A post that really sums up the forum's feelings perfectly is a post from April 17th, 2012, posted shortly after a dev post was posted to the forums explaining a new feature added with patch 1.22, where players would be able to purchase items from different city-states' merchant wards from one NPC. So, say, a player in Gridania could go to an NPC there to purchase goods from Ul'dah. This, of course, was not okay for Rokien. So he makes his usual complaint post, but this is the wonder of Rokien. At this point, everyone on the forums knew him and what he was about, so even though his post didn't contain any actual, real complaints, all his previous posts and threads about instant teleporting and how it ruined immersion was fresh in everyone's minds. The title, More Instant Teleporting, made it clear that this was just adding to the pile of complaints, and the first response to that post was this: shut up, shut up, shut up. 51 likes. The frequency of posts would increase dramatically leading up to the game's reboot, and I can't go through all of them here, but they were all quite entertaining to read. His main points would all be related to immersion and how any addition or update to the game would break it more and more. A Realm Reborn would become a tragedy for immersion with its cartoony style graphics and the horrors of quest chaining. But then there was the legendary post that would secure Rokien's name in 14's Hall of Fame. Make a limit on jump. Quote. So, by now, most of you people have seen the new gameplay video. They really need to make a limit on how much you can jump in a row. It was super annoying seeing them jump every other second. I don't mind the chocobos jumping, that's actually pretty cool. Just put a limit like 10 seconds or so on the normal jump. I really don't want to see people just jumping all around town. Oh boy, here we go. 122 likes. This is probably the most iconic post on the forums, the one feature most players agreed was needed in the game. Of course, Rokien would object, and the community was ready. Pitchforks sharpened and torches lit. The result? A 26-page long thread. Link included in the description. Rokien's final post was fittingly posted on the game's final day, November the 11th, 2012, titled, Rokien with a few complaints, complaining about the server's instability and the fact that gobus were walking around in the cities. A final slam from the game's biggest critic. Many waited for Rokien's triumphant return in A Realm Reborn. But after his final complaint post on the official forums on 1.0's final day, things went eerily quiet. Did he actually just stop playing after 1.0 ended? Why did he not return to us? After doing a little digging, I found that Rokien's adventure in A Realm Reborn was cut short due to his account being hacked and used for RMT. On one of the unofficial community websites, Rokien can be found commenting on a thread about hacked accounts, where he explains this and follows it up by saying that Square Enix would not get any more money from him and considering asking for a refund. He did eventually regain control of his account, and he even posted a couple of blog posts on his Lodestone character page, but as expected, it's mostly just complaining again. And this weird fascination with the airships, I don't know what this airship thing is. Popped up on the unofficial forums as well. Very strange. He also popped up on the 14 subreddit, but most of his threads were quickly deleted. There has not been a real trace of Rokien in the 14 community since 2018. His last public post on the subreddit was titled, Remember back in 1.0 when crafters could participate in combat-related stuff? Why did Yoshida take away a lot of cool aspects from OG Final Fantasy XIV 1.x? Still defending 1.0's game design 6 years after the game shut down. And thus ends the tale of Rokien and the Rokien era. This picture, posted by Denmo Max Stronghuge on July 27th, 2013, sums up the whole era perfectly. Beautiful. After A Realm Reborn's launch, we enter the second community era, which is the one we're still in today. The forums became less important, with the subreddits and Discord servers popping up as the game started growing in popularity. They're still used for Q&As, and there are still the odd Rokien clones that pop up now and then, but for the most part, mentioning the official forums to a 14-player nowadays will most likely result in a frown or scoff. Most memes, discussions, and drama takes place on other platforms now. The golden era of the official forums might be over, but the memories are forever. Thank you for watching this special episode of the Fall and Rise of Final Fantasy XIV. More of these specials will be released in the future, focusing on similar topics that wouldn't fit in our regular Fall and Rise episodes, and sort of allows us to dive deeper into more specific topics. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want more stuff like this. I'll be back in the next episode of the Fall and Rise of Final Fantasy XIV. Until then, may you ever walk in the light of the crystal.